Financially, Taurus is about simplification. And we just had the full moon in Taurus, which puts the context of our domestic reality and our security as it relates to finances. And anybody who's alive today knows this is a big subject right now. You know, the economy is a heavy weight on the shoulders of the people of society. It's a heavy weight right now. All right. And so Taurus is about coming back to what is authentic and sincere. It's coming out of the clouds of desire. It's coming out of the clouds of ideals. It's coming out of the clouds of what can be or what should be. But it's focusing on what is. What's here right now? What's materialized? What's reality right here with what we're dealing with? And how can we find gratitude, appreciation, and celebration in that which we do have and the capacity that we do have? How can we see the pieces that forms abundance in the current situation? So we got to bow out of the fakeness, the phoniness of competition of I got it made and you don't. I'm swimming in money. I'm wealthy. I'm rich. I got this name brand and I got that name brand. I got this kind of car and that kind of car. The reality is right now, a lot of people's cars is getting repossessed. A lot of people are getting eviction notices on their door. A lot of people is walking around and they're wondering, how am I going to get food for the rest of the week for myself or for my children? How am I going to feed my kids? I only have X amount of dollars. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my bills and survive off of this? That's the reality. So everybody can stop fronting. Everybody can stop playing this game of having it made and you doing this and you doing that, fronting for the gram, and everybody can stop fronting and keep it real. Niggas is hurting right now. Understand? That's a reality. So we're bowing out of that race. We're taking our ego out of that circus show. Looking perfect, acting perfect, and feeling entitled to what is perfect. All of this goes with Virgo South Node. You're trying to pull off a status of being perfect and you're not. You want to look perfect and you're not. You want to be perfect and you're not. You want to be associated with and identified with what is perfect and you can't. You're not qualified. Be yourself. Get in your own lane. Accept your own status and capacity for what it is and be not ashamed of it if it's the best that you could do. Lift your head, nigga. Lift your motherfucking head. Because somebody got it worse than you got it. This is where we become real and sincere finally. How long has this nation enjoyed luxury and lies? Lies of luxury and status. How long have we played this game of the internet? Fronting like you got it. Fronting like you stunting. Now comes back to life, back to reality, Taurus. Let's ground. Where's our feet? Touching the ground. Where are we solid and real? Where's it at? What's the true status of us as citizens, as people, family members, community members? When we accept this in ourselves, we can accept it in others and not overlook the value in ourselves and the value in others based on such ideals. When we fail to reach those ideals, everybody got to be a boss babe, entrepreneur, I got a degree, I'm making 6 figures, yada yada. This same commercial bullshit that everybody thinks they're supposed to be on the same status with. Guess what? Success, victory, prosperity, doing good in life. It is not defined by those fictitious ideals. And Taurus full moon is where we finally find the humility to reevaluate whether or not we want to buy into such ideals of impossibilities, inaccessible ideals. Getting real with ourselves and grounded. We have shared ideas with each other that if you're not at a six-figure status, you don't own your business, you work a 9 to 5, you a scrub, you dusty, you broke, you lame, you ain't worth a damn. This is what has been fed into the society. This is the programming. They load the hip hop music up with it. These Khazarians, they give them millions of dollars to put this messaging in the music. They give them millions of dollars to take their clothes off and influence people to think this way. Deals with brands and commercial brands and whatnot, movies, the tabloids, social media, conditioning the people to reach what is inaccessible, unrealistic, totally irrational. And what happens to you when you live this way? You end up stepping beyond your means. You oppress yourself at your second house. You abuse yourself at your second house. You exploit yourself at the second house. You strip yourself of value at the second house. And what do? You go into the 8th house and you dive into misery. You create debt. You take out bank loan after bank loan, credit cards. You finance vehicles that you know you can't afford. You move into communities that you know you can't afford. The HOA itself will break your back. But just so you could get on Instagram and say, I live this status, I'm at this status. Name brand this and name brand that. And being subject to the shame of the feedback that comes with not living up to such commercial ideals. The spirit and culture of consumerism. And everybody ends up becoming the same person. And if you don't show up in these costumes, these expensive costumes, you're shamed, you're isolated, you're rejected. Here's where it all comes home and you're finally accepting the reality of life, that none of that is real. And through that sober mindset, you're able to have the revelation through Uranus to see, I have to reevaluate what my values are here, what really is important to me. What takes precedence in my life? What has precedence and importance to my finance? What has priority to my finances? How many people put priority in their finances to a new wig, makeup, fake teeth, eyelashes, drawn on brows, fake nails, BBLs? How much money does that cost to keep up and maintain every month? How much money does it cost to feel obligated to wear name brand everything from head to toe? If you can't have a name brand on you, you ain't got no self-esteem. You don't feel good about yourself. You can't be happy if you don't have a whole bunch of name brands on. You got to have a Nike check. You got to have a Prada this, a Prada that. You got to have red bottoms. Your car got to be foreign. This is the programming we fell for, and it's time to reevaluate your value, where your value is at, and what respect you owe to your second house. Are these things priorities? Is it time to take the wig off? The lashes? The fake nails? Pedicures and manicures? Is it time to cut back on unnecessary bullshit to keep up with these false ideals of value in yourself? Is it time now to rediscover what it means to really take value in the real self, the first house identification of the self, the Aries identification of the self that Taurus in second house supports and sustains. Is it time to figure that out? Is it time to finally learn that? Can you still have self-esteem if you're walking around with Walmart clothes on? Is your self-esteem going to drop if it's exposed or revealed that you don't make six figures? Is your self-esteem going to drop if you don't live in the best neighborhood? Is your self-esteem going to take a drop if in conversation you make it known to somebody that you might be living from check to check? Come on. I'm asking. What is your self-esteem built on? If it's built on bullshit, fake shit, guess what you're going to run into when it's all dissolved? You're going to run into the fact that you did not reinforce your true source of self-esteem. And what does that turn into when you become that person? You become narcissistic because you're hollow inside. And you project insult on other people, shame on other people, because you don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel beautiful. You don't feel valuable. You don't feel important. So you shame other people who do not show up in those images that are suggested to us, or the status that's suggested to us to indicate value. If you don't have a college degree, how long have feminists of American society read to the people of society, men of society especially, that if you don't have a college degree, you ain't shit? If you're not an entrepreneur, if you're not making six figures, if you're not filthy rich, you broke, you dusty, you ain't this and you ain't that. Don't take me on no coffee date. I deserve a 5-star restaurant cutting steak and sipping wine, with Salt Bay coming to the table throwing salt on my motherfucking steak. This is how these, let me be careful with my language. This is how far lost we've gotten as a collective. The foundational men of our society, the blue collar, the 9-to-5 men, American women have turned their nose up at them. They have read themselves as better than them, too good for them. What does that do? What does that do? Young men of American society, I've read countless essays and reports, videos, everything else, statistics, about the fact that young men in these days are sexless. They ain't getting no pussy. I'm not here to promote fornication or promiscuity. You guys already know that. But what I'm looking at is something's wrong when young men don't have access to pussy anymore. Something is terribly wrong. It is based on the fact that females have been socially engineered to assume a value of themselves that all of them should stand in line for the same 1% of men. Turning their nose up at who's really meant for them. Turning their nose up at their equal. It's delusion and narcissism. Pure narcissism. The narcissism that comes from not having a stable second house, but a fictitious attempt to exaggerate your second house or exaggerate your first house image while your second house is neglected and exploited, is bankrupt. Is totally bankrupt. When you get past the looks, what do they got? After they get done talking about the college degrees and all these different things, all these accolades, what do they got? Bankrupt. And I'm not talking about money. Spiritually bankrupt. So this is getting back to what's realistic, and it reminds us of what really is accessible to us as well. Contentment is accessible to us. Happiness is accessible to us. Fulfillment is accessible to us if we get realistic. If we get past the shame that society puts on you for responding to what is true and natural for you. Living in your means, frugality, making humble choices so that you can preserve your sense of stability. That's called wisdom. That's not called broke. That's not called dusty. That's called wisdom. It's not broke and dusty when these young men are counting their dollars and saying, I can't spend this amount, but I can spend that amount. I have to live within my means. I have to be realistic. Our females of this society have been taught to socially engineer their male counterparts, to totally exhaust themselves in trying to reach totally unrealistic expectations of themselves in status and finance. These things are deliberately engineered. It's hard to correct because females are not interested in hearing that insight. They're not interested. Because the idea is, oh, you're judging me. Oh, not every. Oh, well, what about the men? You can't correct them, you can't admonish them, you can't teach them. Because when there's no true self-esteem there, their insecurity is reflexive. It's a reflex. Bam, deflect, defensive, deflect, defensive. And accountability misses every time, and its self-introspect and reflection misses every time because insecurity. Deflect, reject, rebuttal. So now the universe takes role. It insists on this reflection. What's most important? What's priority? We got to get sober here and grounded. What is worthy of my second house value? What is worthy of that? What is most important to my stability in my decisions? The banks are no longer options. Loans are no longer options. Credit cards are no longer options. Financing is no longer options. We have a crisis to where these things are not options. And whenever bank loans, credit cards, and financing is no longer an option, nobody gets to pretend like they're rich. Nobody gets to pretend like they made it. Nobody gets to pretend like they're living a luxury celebrity lifestyle. Guess what? You gotta be human now. Is it a tragedy to be human? Or is it authentic to be human? Mercury also joins the trine where we have Jupiter in Cancer, Neptune, Saturn, and North Node at Pisces, Sun and Venus Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio is loaded. And this is a recognition. A recognition of how to appropriate ourselves and align with the blessings in the waters. The blessings in the waters, as you know, is salvation. It is having cognitive clarity through reconsiderations based on who we are now, on how to complete and affirm salvation for ourselves. This completes the manifestation of our ability to forgive ourselves, which affords the ability to forgive others. It also generates the possibility to actively perform and practice atonement for ourselves, which affords our ability and capacity to perform atonement concerning others and the relationships that we have through the water signs, which is the basis of all life, all expression, and all being. Water, it comes from the water. Reverence of wounds that bore us. Understand that. This leads to our salvation. Harmonizing the waters. The waters is where everything comes from. That which is toxic and that which is whole and holistic. If it's in the water, it will manifest in all things in your chart. So we're going back to that water through Mercury to have a cognitive alignment with what's taking place in these emotional complexities of ourself. It's not to be underestimated. It's not to be underlooked. We all coming out of a crisis with ourselves as a collective concerning Capricorn, Pluto, get to the bag, status, job titles, careers. I got this degree. I got that degree. I just bought this car. I just got this name brand, this competition, Machiavellian, scaled the side of the mountain like the ibex in order to lick the salt at the top of the mountain. Come on. Who have we become as a result of that? We became a people who betrayed the children, who betrayed the household, who separated man from woman, who destabilized the household, where man, woman, and child is sacred as a single symbol. That's what we did. And we called it normal. We justified it. We called it okay. We celebrated it. We disrespected the divine image of the family, man, woman, and child. Man, woman, and child. Yeah, man and woman and child. Fuck is you talking about? All three go together. Respect that. Put all your respect on that. Man, woman, and child. It's incomplete without man, woman, and child. Fuck what you thought. Fuck the bullshit that you've been subscribing to. That's what makes it complete. Man, woman, and motherfucking child, nigga. Fuck out of here with that bullshit. We're healing this. We're fixing it. We're bringing it back full circle. So in our claim of authenticity, we also are remembering that family is sacred. The tribe is sacred. The bond of man, woman, and child is sacred, and that balance has to be restored. The mutual respect has to be restored. The reverence for each other has to be restored. Appreciation for each other has to be restored. We must not continue to entertain ideals that man and woman is enemy of each other. No, we're here to bless each other. And we're responsible for the decisions, for the choices that we make and the quality of persons that we allow into our life. Thus, we cannot complain if we refuse following behind Venus and not considering Saturn and Pluto. Understand? Who do you have to blame? Accountability is here. You know that. Where we going? Where we going? The fact that Uranus visits Taurus, especially the last degree of Taurus, it's not to be overlooked or underestimated that we are learning to reconsider what we value. What we value. It's a revelation in what holds value to us. This comes after we have passed through the shadow work. This comes after we have passed through the dismantling of South Node Libra and Capricorn Pluto, feminism and corporate lust. With feminism out of the way, with corporate lust out of the way, are you able to see clear on what is everlasting of value? Without the interference, without the noise of the programming of feminism and capitalism. Or, better word to say, corporate engineering and propaganda. Without those things in a way, can you see what is really valuable and everlasting? What's most important? We have a decentralization of government. The people are thrown under the bus, left under the bridge by the government. Who cannot see that we are at the mercy of each other? We have no choice but to come together, put down our weapons, put down our guards, and learn how to come together. We let corporate ambitions divide us, make enemies of each other. We allowed feminism to divide us and make enemies of each other. And through both feminism and corporate ambitions, we weaponized the system, we weaponized resources, and we took value in that which promoted the status. Selfish reasons, selfish aims, consumerism, competition, greed, desensitizing ourselves deliberately. What's really to be valued? Taurus is about real value. Not what's superficial, what is lasting, what is everlasting. Value that cannot be purchased at Walmart. Value that you can't order off of Amazon. Sentimental value. We're reconsidering what we value. This starts the basis of how we innovate. We innovate from where we stand. We innovate from where we are. We innovate from where the ground is solid. Taurus. We have to identify clearly what we value the most so we know where to make these innovations. Your second house clarifies what you value innately. What is most true about what you value in life, in yourself, of food, of feedback, of support. What makes you feel stable? What makes you feel valuable? What pours into your sense of self-esteem? Where your boundaries must be so that you do not betray or sell your soul. Your second house. Taurus in your chart is where you're most stable. It's where you're most reliable. It's where you're most consistent. It's where you are most trustworthy. At Taurus. But Uranus suggests that you be stable, reliable, and trustworthy to yourself through Uranus, because Uranus returns you to yourself. it forwards everything to your soul's journey, the meaning of your soul's journey over many lifetimes. So therefore, we have been stable, reliable, counted on, self-sacrificing, consistent, enduring for all these corporations, for politicians, for propaganda and engineered socializing agendas. It's time to use this grounding for yourself this time. What does it mean to use your capacity to manifest such a reliable nature and stability in your own best interest? What does that look like? This Mercury retrograde is going from the 9th house back into the 8th house. Okay, the 9th house is Sagittarius back into the 8th house Scorpio. Alright, so let's start right there first of all. 8th house, 9th house, 7th house. These are very closely related with the 8th house in the center, as karmically, the 8th house transformational experiences, when we fail to align with truth, disillusionment, or to meet the trust pendant upon us of the 8th house, we fall back to the contractual basis of the 7th house from whence it was initiated at. We have to review the contract that subjugated us to the themes of the 8th house. The 7th house is where our consent enters us into subjugation of the 8th house. That's where the contract starts, where you agree or you consent to the terms and conditions that you are either aware of or you should have taken a responsibility to gain awareness of. But you find yourself subject to the powers of the 8th house based on your consent in the 7th house. For example, 5th house, you're dating. 7th house, you're getting to know each other, right? But let's say you skip all of that and you jump straight into the 8th house of intimacy. You have a slip up. Now you got a baby. You see what I'm saying? You got the girl pregnant. You got pregnant by this dude. You're automatically, bam, you're in the 8th house together. You can't get out. Too late. So you both are now subject to the themes of the 8th house, which are all transformational experiences, where you share debts, you share obligations, you share duties, you share responsibilities, you share experiences that causes you to change, you share experiences that bring you to challenges and limitations to your sense of power and vitality. You come to experiences that exposes to you your mortality, how vulnerable you are, how imperfect you are, and how limited you are in expression of your power. That's what the 8th house does. And you can't get out of it because you already consented to that which subjects you to it. Okay? You get soul ties. You have sex with this girl, you have sex with this guy. Now you have this soul tie bond and your karma is now configured together. Experiences start happening that subjects you both into drama. Drama that causes you to transform and transmute your power into a unified expression. But your will might be resisting it. Your personality might be resisting it. Your cognitive mind in the present might be resisting it. So it causes turmoil, stress, trauma, pain. That's called getting ahead of yourself, putting the cart before the horse. So this could happen in business as well. Any type of contractual agreements. Remember, contracts are not just pieces of paper that slides across the table. Anywhere where you gave your consent to be subject to a unified venture, expectation, entitlement, obligation that you must fulfill because you subjected yourself to it. All right? Understand that. So when you fail at these things, you come back to the 7th house in karma. With that subject, with that person, or with that institution. And what it means to come back to it is you come back to the conversations that irons these things out and clarifies these things. You come back to the experiences that shows you where you overlooked these things, where you weren't paying attention to it. Where even though you think that it's that person's fault, where you think that it's somebody else's fault, you come back to the 7th house to realize that you put your signature right there. Yes, it's your fault. You don't have nobody to blame. You got yourself to look at in the mirror. Is this your signature? Okay then, shut the fuck up. It's one of those. Now, that's Libra. We're not dealing with Libra right now with all of this. Alright? So, concerning the Mercury retrograde, Mercury's in the 9th house of Sagittarius and it's going to come back to the 8th house. In the 9th house of Sagittarius, these are the philosophies that you have coined for yourself, the conclusions that you have made that forms your belief, or what you have told yourself is your understanding of something. Based on what? Based on what? Based on your 8th house experiences. Based on the shadow work that you've accomplished or halfway did. Based on how you responded to or reacted to 8th house themes of truth, disillusionment. Based on how you did with your 8th house shadow work. So this is really based on whether or not we were successful in incorporating our shadows, accepting our shadows, embracing our shadows, acknowledging the fact that it was for us to take ownership of our shadow, to take ownership of what we have suppressed in ourselves that wreaks havoc like a juvenile delinquent because it don't got parents. You're the parent. You're the parent of these juvenile delinquent shadows inside of yourself, and they wreak havoc when you refuse to acknowledge that these are the things that you desire. These are the things that you want. These are the things that will make you happy. These are the things that make you feel true. These are the things that are truly, innately of your nature. But in denying it, you project it onto other people in negative ways. You make other people responsible for the outcome that you fail to get because you fail to advocate for the shadows in yourself that you are used to feeling ashamed of, that you don't want to feel vulnerable about, so you put it on somebody else to do it for you, to give you that end result. It's where you are not courageous enough or brave enough to advocate for these shadows. This usually shows its face as insecurities that you project. So when it comes to deep, intimate connections, instead of admitting that you have these insecurities, instead of coming clean that you have these insecurities around these shadows of yourselves, which are secret desires of yourself that you do not want to vocalize, admit, outwardly express, or bring out into full expression with yourself because you're afraid of rejection, because you're afraid somebody's going to tell you no. You're afraid somebody's going to laugh at you. You're afraid somebody's going to make you feel uncomfortable. You're afraid that what happened to you last time is going to happen to you. So instead, you remix it and you disguise it. You repackage it as being someone else's faulty character, or why you failed to connect with that person, or why you deliberately self-sabotage the situation so that you don't have to connect with the person. You say something or do something that's real fucked up or foul, and then you put it on that person that it's them who did it, not you. That they're the reason why it didn't work. They're the reason why there wasn't a connection. And then you walk your happy ass off into your little hole, hiding away like a fucking coward, thinking that nobody's seen that shit, thinking that nobody knows what you're doing, and they do. But nobody can say anything. Because if somebody say something, oh, you'll blow up and you'll just go off the handle. Oh, why you say this, and delete, cut, block, you know what I mean? All this other stuff, I'm going to run off like I did last time. It turns into one of those type of situations. This is about the failure to create intimacy in your life, deeper connections in your life because of your insecurities, because of the shadows of yourself that you really don't have to feel ashamed about. You don't have to feel insecure about. You just simply need to know how to advocate for these things that you really do desire, vocalize it, say it out loud. Be truthful, be honest, be transparent. You know, I responded that way, or I reacted that way because I feel insecure about XYZ. I feel uncomfortable about XYZ. I had this particular experience about XYZ. So you know what, maybe I might be projecting some of that, you know, towards you because this is what I have experienced. You know, it's like, let me come to clarity. Let me come to clarity and perspective about what's going on right now and not bring that or incorporate that from the past into this. You know, it's one of those type of situations. But this is where you have a review from the 9th house of illusions of beliefs that you have and illusions of conclusions that you have based on your projections. And those projections based on insecurities. And you have to go back into the 8th house to recover the truth that you left behind, that you conveniently buried, that you ran off from, that you became a fugitive from, that you conveniently hid away in your den so that you don't have to deal with it, so that you don't have to face it and acknowledge it and talk about it. It's one of those situations. Now, based on the fact that Sagittarius is hosting Juno, there's a soulmate in your life who came into your life. Okay? There's a soulmate who came into your life who's meant to progress you and show you to greater freedom through connection, through deeper connection with that person. It doesn't necessarily mean that it translates to romanticism, but it does mean that the person has the ability to walk you through to vulnerable growth and expansion if you can be vulnerable enough to align with truth and embrace your shadows as that person walks you through that new growth. So the fact that Mercury retrograde starts at Sagittarius, it lets you know that you already met this person, you've already connected to that person, but your fears and insecurities was projected onto that person, and you broke it and blamed it on that person for breaking, you know what I mean, for breaking faith or breaking a connection. You very well could have projected that consequence onto that person because of your fears and insecurities. You got fears and insecurities that you didn't work on, that you failed to pay attention to, that you failed to heal. And now it becomes a point of trampling for yourself. And while you think that you cut somebody else off, guess what? You cut yourself off from grace, because that person is meant to walk you into greater growth and opportunity of your life that you don't have the ability to give yourself access to. And you felt vulnerable, you felt uncomfortable. Oh, this is too good to be true. I'm not deserving of this. Oh, I'm not used to this. We could go down a line with that. And you self-sabotage the situation. Now look at you. Back with your motherfucking self, the limitations of yourself, and you can't find your way out of the limitations of yourself because it's meant for somebody else to expand your horizons and bring you beyond the thresholds and limitations of the self. But because of your fears and insecurity, you fucked it up and you sabotaged it. You cut somebody else who you wasn't supposed to fucking cut off. Or this could be a situation and opportunity as well that meant growth and expansion. But that vulnerability made you nervous. And you projected. The 8th house rising to the 9th house. The teacher-student dynamic. You could have been a student and somebody else in your life is a teacher, but you didn't appreciate the person as a teacher. You didn't appreciate the person as an enlightener. You didn't appreciate the person as a guide, as a divine assignment to you for your soul's evolution and growth. So you pushed them away. This can happen in many contexts. Many contexts. So it's not just limited to somebody who's a convenient date. Please don't minimize it to that. But this is something to really reflect on. When it comes to the 9th house, this is where you're supposed to extract philosophy from the 8th house, understanding from the 8th house, wisdom from the 8th house. The 9th house is the jewel of the 8th house. It is the fruit of the 8th house. It is the victory of the 8th house. It is the crown of the 8th house. It is enlightenment and understanding, higher knowledge and wisdom. Juno's entrance into Sagittarius was to put you in position with help, with support, to expand and grow. Who was in your life to help you to expand your horizons, to see a greater view? Who was in your life to help you to understand? Understand what? Who is in your life to help you to understand what you went through in Scorpio? Who is in your life to clarify to you what it meant, what you processed through Scorpio? And we understand Scorpio is secretive. But soulmates don't have to, word for word, verbatim, ask you all these questions. The presence of that soulmate in and of itself is effective enough to expand your horizons, to enlighten you, to lead you to understanding, to lead you to truth. But what happens when we're afraid of the truth? When we resist the truth? And where does that habit start at with resisting the truth? It starts at the 8th house. It starts at Scorpio. That's where it starts. And if you have a relationship with the truth where you're resisting, where you're fighting it, where you're running away from it, you're hiding, you're looking for coping mechanisms, you're looking for distractions, escape routes, so you don't have to deal with it. What happens when it comes to that person expanding your horizons? You cut them off and you fabricate a sabotage of the situation so you don't have to deal with growing. So you don't have to be vulnerable anymore. Because in that vulnerability, you get exposed to yourself over and over again. You get to see who you were. Because that's what growth is all about. You're passing through the territories of who you once were. The graveyards of who you once were. And you look at it. And you see your insecurities, you see your weaknesses, you see your vulnerabilities, you see all of your fuck-ups, you see habits about yourself that were not good or healthy, and you can't stomach it. So you pretend like something was wrong with that person. You pretend like it was something that person said or something that person did, but really it's you. It's you who couldn't stomach your own growth. We got to be careful when it comes to soulmates, because when Juno goes from sign to sign, house to house, it either manifests different soulmates or a soulmate, or it changes context of which a soulmate is there in your life for. But nonetheless, it's going to be someone who accommodates your growth and processing of that particular energy. Just as it was when it was in Scorpio, when it was in every sign. There's always a soulmate that follows along with the Juno. When Juno was in Scorpio, somebody was helping you to heal a death in your ego, a death in your identity. Somebody was helping you to reconnect with a sense of empowerment in yourself. Somebody was helping you to relive and give life back to your first house, your Aries expression, your sense of identity, and the clarity and claim of your identity and the authority and power that comes with it. Who was that person? Who were those people? We have to cherish these people. We have to appreciate them and respect them, honor them, because they were sent for our grace. How often do we take for granted who's sent in our life to give us that blessing? We take it for granted. Who was sent to bless you? We take it for granted. What if the person never came? Just think. Key individuals, what if certain persons never came into your life to teach you or to show you how to grow? To help you to heal or process certain energies that you were not able to do all alone? Look at how much pride we have to even admit that somebody even was in position to help us. All my life, I remember the people who came along to help me. I had many teachers, many guides, many enlighteners, many examples and demonstrators, many who brought accountability to me and kept me in a vulnerable place with myself, where I would not mislead myself or lie to myself, but remain accountable in what it means to really grow. Even since a little kid, 14 years old, the Nation of Islam, them brothers came down there sharp as a razor. As you know, as they say back in the day, dressed to kill. Discipline, sharp minds, exemplary character, holding me accountable at all times. Where would I be without them? Where would I be without the teachers who used to question my character, question my behavior, question how I show up and who I'm being? Where would I be? We don't show enough appreciation for who we have in our life that makes that difference. This is a time where we might have to recall those things and realign. Show appreciation and gratitude. Show reverence for the wombs that bore us. We have to reverence the wombs that bore us. Understand that. Once Mercury gets back into Scorpio, that's when we deal with what caused us to sabotage. That's when we deal with what caused us to self-destruct, to cut the cord, to reject what was in our best interest. It's also where we deal with the truth that caused us to have inaccuracies or delusions in our conclusive beliefs and philosophies that we're putting passion behind. There's so many illusions in the current time, we have to get to the truth. Not necessarily the facts and statistics, but the actual truth. Truth is bigger than the facts and statistics. The Khazarians have now taken ownership of social media, ChatGPT, Google search engines. This is the Great Reformation all over again. The same thing happened in the Great Reformation after chattel slavery. And this was about retitling African Americans, so-called, who were indigenous Native Americans, as Negro, black, colored, slave, and freedmen. This was the theft of their estate, obscuring their identity through the Christian black codes. And from that point on, all research has to reflect the same lie. All research has to confirm the same lie. This has gone throughout all European history. Throughout all European history, there's always been the burning of books for power, for control of narratives. And this is no different. There is the burning of books, the burning of truth, in order to fabricate fictitious narratives around slaves who were indigenous peoples, who were put in a status of non-descent in order to steal their estate and transfer their identities into the first formation of T-bonds for Jewish exploitation of banking systems that would incorporate the de facto United States Corporation, which used to be United States Republic, in which President Lincoln was the last president of this territory that used to be United States Republic. And they used the indigenous, Asiatic, Native American tribal Moors to transfer the value of T-bonds in order to incorporate it, to have backing to incorporate it. Thus, the 14th Amendment and the creation of the straw man fictitious person. All history books would reflect that lie, that blatant fucking lie. When white Christian nationalists tell stories, they tell lies that keep them in power and that keep them at advantage and that covers their tracks from what they stole. Same thing with Khazarians today. Taking ownership of ChatGPT, taking ownership of search engines, algorithms on the internet and social media, and your grandchildren, just like me, will take 28 years to figure out the truth. Because facts and statistics will not verify the truth. Because they fabricate facts and statistics and their manipulation of the truth. And that's why Scorpio and Pluto is important to get to the truth, not the fictitious, fraudulent illusions of facts and statistics that liars have registered into algorithms of research. Understand that. Enough of that rabbit hole. All right, let's go over it, right? Sagittarius, Scorpio. This area right here has had a traffic jam for a long time. You know, we're dealing with this energy for quite a while between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Pretty much majority of the year of 2025 was in our transformations and shadow work of that Scorpio stellium. And the Scorpio stellium shifted of different energies that were being focused on, but it's been a focus point for an entire year. We have a water triplicity fully active, involving Cancer, as you know, with Jupiter, and also we have Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node in Pisces. This is our trine of salvation that begins with our ability to confess of what we know to be true, of what we know to be right, and also what we know to be universal, and submitting to that through acceptance. That's the point of transformation, where we realize what is to be done to practice forgiveness for the self, which affords forgiveness for others. And of course, that is an active principle of forgiveness, that we change and correct our ways if we are to forgive ourselves, knowing that we deserve peace, security, and fulfillment as a result of aligning with truth and aligning with what we know to be the right thing. Further than that, it manifests atonement. It's not enough to say things. Your body has to say what your voice says. Your body has to say what your voice says too. That's part of the atonement. How can I use my body, my energy, my power, my advantages, my leverage, the privileges that I have, the freedom, the willpower that I have, my intelligence, to serve this idea that I know what the right thing is now? And I'm going to demonstrate to myself and reinforce it until it becomes my character. Do we understand that about the water trine? The water trine is where we make these corrections in spirit, in emotion. It's not just something we say. I'm going to take my time on this, you know what I mean? Having my cigar before I go take this jog. And I'm going to take my time on this. It's a beautiful day out here. So, Scorpio, all right, and Sagittarius. Where is this at in your natal birth chart? Where's it at? You have to look at those house themes, those house subjects. You got to close the door and get some privacy so that you could be as honest as possible with yourself. Somebody might be listening, somebody might be watching, and now you're tempted to lie to yourself to make yourself look good. No. Get all the way down to the bottom of the truth about yourself. What is it about yourself where it's time to admit the truth? It's time to open up to truth. It's time to stop running away from it. There's something to accept about me. There's something to own up to about me. The truth is never about somebody else. It's about you. You can't control anybody else. You're not in charge of anybody else. You can't anticipate what somebody else is or is not going to do. That's futile. It's about you. Scorpio is always going to carry 8th house state of consciousness. And what's the most valuable thing of the 8th house? It's trust. It's trust. Can I trust me? If I can trust you. Can I trust me? Can I trust myself in contracts? Can I trust myself to follow through and make sure that my word is always my bond? That what I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. That who I say I am, I'm going to be it. Can I trust me to live up to who I say I am? To reflect what I say I believe in? Am I trustworthy? Can I have power, advantage, opportunity, privilege, and do the right thing with it concerning those who do not have that? After all, if I'm strong, if I'm privileged, if I'm opportuned, if I have any advantage, guess what? It is not my own. It is a trust upon me. Trust. I'm being trusted with it. And it's for me to figure out who needs it. Who needs the advantages that I have, the gifts that I have, from whence I stand in opportunity. Who needs it? Am I delivering? Am I fulfilling that trust? These little details are part of the big picture that we're meant to see. What's going on in this society? Our de facto government already showed us they don't care about us. They just care about the rich buddies. That's it. They don't care about us. We're on our own. Especially if you're a minority. Especially. You're on your own. There are illusions of favor taking place. And that could go to a lot of people's head when that illusion manifests itself. Just like the illusion that manifested itself toward females in American society since the Obama era. The privilege is given to females. Excessive power and advantage given to females. Females got drunk in power. drunk in status, drunk in access, and they abused it. They betrayed the society. Divided families right down the middle, allow themselves to be used as instruments of destruction of the domestic principle, which now is being restored through Cancer Jupiter. Illegal immigration. They're being used by corporate America with illusions that the government is so interested in protecting the American people's rights in the commercial economy by deporting those who have a legal status. But the truth is that they all are human traffickers. They want them here under that status so that they can be subjugated to the 13th Amendment slavery clause, which puts them to work for free. After all, that is the very tradition and legacy that built this country. And I'm one of the descendants of those very people. So I can speak on this. That's how real it is. I'm who the 13th Amendment was talking about. I'm who the 14th Amendment was talking about. And it extended its capacity to all those who were ignorant enough to consent to it. Yeah, write that part down. So I can speak on this. I'm an Asiatic, indigenous, Cherokee, tribalman, Moor. I know who the fuck I am. I'm not black, Negro, colored, or African motherfucking American, nigga. Fuck out of here. So I'm speaking on this. We have to find a unity, but the unity can't be fake. It got to be real, it got to be transparent, and it has to be upon the truth. That's what we're trying to get to through Scorpio, but we got to do the shadow work to align ourselves individually to the truth. Because all of us have a degree or perspective of truth that we all are supposed to support and bring into clarity. Because that is the basis of insight for how we will innovate, what our needs are, how we will become the solution. Eighth house, it's an uncomfortable place. You got to be vulnerable there. And I'm speaking on eighth house because I'm trying to describe, you understand what we're learning through the Scorpio stellium, because Mercury now is retrograde, is going to leave out of Sagittarius, which is our beliefs and our particular style of communication that might have some fire and bang to it. I know all about that. South Node Sagittarius. I got fucked up communication when it comes to the 11th house. It's a struggle. When I talk to you all from the 11th house, that Mars kicks in. And the fire from the South Node channels through to the North Node, Gemini, and it sets my communication on fire. It takes a fucking lifetime for me to learn how to master my communication when it comes to the 11th house. It is a struggle. I'm going through it, trying to learn. You know what I mean? How to talk like I do from the 12th house. From the 12th house, for example, that's when you have your spiritual service from the 12th house. My spiritual service manifests as a nurturer and healer from behind the scenes. And you get to see that version of me, when I do a reading, you know what I mean? When I'm talking to you one-on-one or whatever else. But from the 11th house, it's totally different. It's a fucking fiery furnace. You know what I'm saying? That New York come out. The wolf come out. And I got to keep it tamed. Because, I can scare people away. So again, I understand what we're going through right now. And as Scorpio is about accepting these shadows in yourself. You're accepting all the dark aspects of yourself, all the shadows of yourself, the parts of yourself, your nature, your instincts, your personality, whatever it be, your sense of power or lack thereof. You're learning how to find acceptance while also taking accountability of it so that you can manage it and innovate it through the power of Pluto out of bounds in Aquarius, so that it can manifest as a service and not a force of destruction. You know what I mean? I know what's going on. It don't mean that it's going to be easy though. I'm just freestyling with y'all, you know what I mean? So this message might, be all over the place, but I don't care. I'm a Gemini. I accept who I am. And if I'm bing, 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 bing all over the place, that's just who the fuck I am. You know what I mean? Fuck it. I'm just freestyling right now. Scorpio, stellium, we resurrected from that point, as you know, right? Scorpio resurrects, it rebirths the first house. It resurrects Aries. That's what Scorpio does, okay? When you come to the end or limitation of your power and existence with the first house and Aries placement, realities, okay? Dispositions, subjects of your life, okay? That's why the house context is very important. When you come to the end of your power, then Scorpio is what resurrects you from that, from that death point. You got to get resurrected from that death point. And that's through Scorpio. And what has to happen with that is you have to keep claim and ownership of all of the souls of previous lives that turn into shadows. And you have to incorporate them with you as wisdom. I'll explain something to you from Ifa Yoruba tradition, which also is consistent with Voodoo, and other African spiritual traditions of animism. Understand? So listen real close, right? Santeria as well. I know Pluto as Mother Oya. Mother Oya, she's one of the wives of Shango, which is Uranus. She's a warrior. She's lordess of the graves, of the winds, and of rain, of storms. She taught Uranus how to fight. Understand that. She ain't nothing to fuck with. She not dainty and sweet like Venus. This is a Mary Magdalene disposition. This is the divine feminine that has been through death, the dark, pain, betrayal, rejection, abuse. Every dark thing that you could think of. Like a dog walking the street with battle scars all over it. That's Oya. She owns the faces of death. She is the death card. Understand that. Her dominion is Scorpio. That's where we get real at. Scorpio's where your metal get tested. Are you really real? Do you really mean what you say? Are you really who you claiming that you are? Are you superficial? It all gets tested in Scorpio, and it all gets tested and exposed by Pluto. Let's understand this. Will you take off and run on a battlefield when shit get real? Oya has 9 colors on her skirt. 9 colors on her skirt. Alright? Each of these 9 colors represents one of the stillborn babies that she gave birth to. And she keeps their souls as a frequency of color about her skirt. And she goes to battle with them, transmuting that love, transmuting that pain, transmuting that truth, transmuting the devastation into resilience. That's what we do as Scorpio. Every time you go through these deaths, and 9 represents completion, it's the frequency of the prophet and prophetess, the priestess and high priestess. Number 9. And we have number 9 at the South Node, Virgo, as we speak, working against the detriment of Venus, which means snap out of the fucking play. Wake your ass up, nigga. Wipe that smirk off your fucking face. Pay attention to your assignment. She channels the forces of these 9 spirits. She's connected to each one. She channels through each one. And love is always with her because truth is always with her. She's about the dark storms of the truth that you have to pass through in order to get to the love. The battles and wars that you have to fight in the name of love. That proves your love. That demonstrates your love. And love is effortless to prove. It is effortless to demonstrate once you get to the truth. Fear doesn't exist with love. Fear is not real with love. Fear cannot stand with love. But we can't get to that till we get to the truth. So there are hard truths. There's a lot of disillusionment that we have to learn how to deal with and accept about the reality of our world and the reality of ourselves and the status that we have with what we got going on in life and who we got it going on with. There's some hard truths to fucking swallow. I drop little seeds. I'm not the source of truth, but I know I'm a conduit. And what I receive by revelation, I share. And I do it for a reason. Because I know that a seed, if planted and nurtured, it will grow. But I don't get to be in control of when the seed will split. That's the power of a law. So I share little by little. I keep you disturbed. I keep you uncomfortable. I keep you on edge. I keep you questioning. I keep you in shock. I keep showing you that yes, you are allowed to walk through the grave. You are allowed to talk to the dead. You can go into the forbidden and the taboo. And there's power in it for you. Scorpio at the 4th house for a Leo rising, such as myself. It's my soul. It characterizes my inner child, the darkness. I'm comfortable in the dark. I'm comfortable in war. I'm comfortable in combat. That's why I feel alive the most. When shit get real, that's when I feel alive the most. That's when who I am makes the most sense. When shit get real. I got the crazy man effect. When shit get real, I start smiling. I start grinning. I used to do that shit as a youngster, you heard? Turf wars going on. Shootouts and all that bullshit. Nigga, I start smiling in the middle of that shit. That's Scorpio. Reassuring me. And because of my acceptance of the truth, I'm able to be free. And a smile is a demonstration and expression of that freedom through Sagittarius. I'm comfortable, nigga. What? I'm comfortable. What you want to do, because I'm comfortable. That's what we're trying to get to. Where you can smile in the middle of the battlefield. Not run. Duck and hide. Cover your ears and your eyes. Oh, you ain't know where we headed? Where was Pluto at when all these revolutionary wars was popping off? You heard? See, y'all niggas be forgetting, man. You think that was just in books, stories, movies. No. It might be your turn. It could be your turn. It's what niggas don't understand. And we're learning the lessons of detachment through the number 9 frequency. And the lessons of detachment, which works against the detriment of Venus, it makes death painless, is what you don't understand. I'm not talking about the smallest death, which is somebody put a fucking bullet in your head and you just fall the fuck down. Yeah, that's the easy shit. I'm talking about all the faces of death as you walk this earth. To meet it with resilience, to smile in his face. That number 9 frequency, it prepares you for that. Anybody who has the heart, soul, urge number 9, life path number 9 know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's a nigga that's ready to die. Let me clarify context here. They're not afraid to pass through the dark because they're so familiar with the dark. They have accepted the dark. They have accepted all of the faces of death that comes. And for that reason, alignment with truth is natural for the 9. It is natural for the 9. And that's why 9 is the father of fathers, the teacher of teachers, the mentor of mentors. Act like you know what's coming. Pluto is out of bounds in Aquarius. Act like you know what's coming. Let me ask you this, right? Mercury, we know that has a lot to do with our communications. It has a lot to do with our perceptions, how we imply and how we infer. What relationship we have with information, processing of information, disseminating information, what we believe to be true or not, data, facts, statistics, all of the intel and connections. Why is that? Or how does that transfer meaning in your life from Sagittarius back into Scorpio? Okay? How does that transfer meaning? All right? To Sagittarius, what it suggests is that a review could be required. Reflection could be required. Or what you're putting passion behind. Reflection could be required on what you're putting heart behind, what you're putting fire behind, because Sagittarius gets results. Sagittarius is the renewal of power to the resurrected self. Resurrected self being who you are after the survival of many dark transformational experiences. That is Sagittarius. And what comes with that is a boldness, a fiery nature, a strong, fiery passion that is contagious and kinetic. So before we get too far with that passion, before we get too far with that fire, with spreading that fire, we have to do reconnaissance over the territories of which we spread that fire. The house themes, the house subjects of where you have Sagittarius, as well as the house themes and subjects of where you have the ninth house, this is where you have the urge to spread the fire of what you have conviction upon based on your transformational outcomes in passing through Scorpio. What you have concluded of truth. What you have concluded of what is real or true. What have you concluded? When we go back into Scorpio, there are specific things that are going to come through the portal of the past to revisit us. That has significance with our ability to align with truth or not. That holds significance. And whether or not we have cleared our conscience with truth. There are things to revisit in Scorpio of your shadows that you may have overlooked, left behind, or deliberately ignored and conveniently excuse yourself from so that you can hurry up and get to the Sagittarius expression. But there's a review. That review can come as any past life return. Okay? And these past life returns are more than likely going to be from the Aries Mercury retrograde that took place in the spring. All right? Where there were fallouts. Somebody ran off. There is a dispute. There is an argument, a falling out. Someone betrayed you. Somebody wronged you. You were misunderstood, or you misunderstood somebody. But that was based on who you were in Aries prior to your acceptance of transformation, prior to your acceptance of the point of resurrection that you knew had to take place in your life as you passed through the codes of shadow work, incorporating dark aspects of the self into the truth of the self, making you authentic. So now that you are the reborn person, now that Aries is reborn through Scorpio, what have you to say now, this time? What is your perspective now? What holds true now? What do you have to say to this person now? Or what might they have to say to you from their results? You see what I'm saying? You were not the real person during Aries Mercury retrograde. You were still the fictitious character, the inauthentic self. Now you very well could be the authentic person. What does it mean now that you return to the subject matters through the past life portals of Mercury retrograde? Okay? And these are people of your third house. These are people of your sixth house. The third house, who you borrow a cup of sugar from. Okay? Who you get advice from. Who helps you to form the perspectives that you have in life. Sharing ideas and thoughts, conversations. Siblings, neighbors. People who you consider of your tribe or community. Somebody left your tribe, somebody left a community, somebody left a relationship, or maybe all these persons were you, but somewhere the subject or the topic of betrayal, rejection, mutiny took place. All right? This is coming back around. And the timeline doesn't have a limitation, okay? This can return from decades ago, months ago, weeks ago, days ago. Same thing with Sagittarius. Through Sagittarius, the student-teacher dynamic somewhere where you were to be enlightened or you were to enlighten others, there could be a review. In the past, you may not have had the resilience or the courage to accept the enlightenment that manifests to you, the revelation that came to you, the truth that came to you. And you may now be in position to go back over that and align with it and see, okay, this wasn't out to get me, it was out to bless me. The convictions that we have, coming to the realization that I could be loud and dead wrong. I could be passionate and still don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I could have the deepest conviction in my gut about what is or what is not. What is right, wrong, what is good, bad. After all, Sagittarius, it's the soldier of Cancer. Sagittarius is a soldier of Cancer. It's a matriarchal soldier. Not patriarchal. It's matriarchal because it is based on what is true. It's based on what is right. But oftentimes we can have the misunderstanding and misperception of what is true and what is right. And we're fighting for something that we think is true and right, but is wrong. And this goes back to Cancer Mars retrograde. In Cancer Mars retrograde, we had righteous anger to deal with. Righteous anger. And in that righteous anger, the righteous ideal that we were angry for, yes, that was true. But the reality may not have been true to the ideal that you had in your mind or perception. And now that understanding comes. I can have righteous anger based on my miseducation or my ignorance, blowing off of the handle for it, arguing with people, cutting people off, fighting, spit flying from my mouth. But fundamentally, I'm incorrect. I'm out of order. I'm not level, square, balanced. I'm not true. I'm not consistent. I'm out of line. So you find that you're fighting for something that's not even real, true, or correct. You're not on correctness. Why does all this have to happen? Because we are dealing with illusions. Neptune, people, Neptune. We are dealing with illusions. There are illusions that we are at war with. It's fighting for your imagination, for your heavenly power, for your mind. Neptune is preparing for its transit through Aries. It's back in Pisces. And Pisces is to conceptualize the ideal. To conceptualize the identity. To conceptualize who I am and who they are. Who we are. Identity politics is what led up to the confusion in our world. And it is still the topic of our world. And you don't get to bow out of it because you think that you're more righteous than the topic that the universe has selected right now. No, you're not. You're part of this reality. And you got to roll your sleeves up and get busy with it. You think the infamous talk about race, demographics, communities, all this other stuff because, okay, I just pull it out my ass? No, I talk about the subject matters that this universe is expressing. And it is about race right now. It is about demographics. It is about identities. And the illusions around all of these things, which includes illusions of power, illusions and perception. The fact that facts, data, and statistics cannot fully represent truth. There's a difference between truth, data, facts, and statistics. Who enters the data, facts, and statistics? Whose integrity and whose authority? Data, facts, and statistics are only as good as the integrity and authority of the one who registered it. Who has owned the narrative of our society, of your nation, of your country, of your community, of your household, of your family? Who has owned the narratives? This is about seeing through the illusions of those who had inappropriate power over communities, demographics, races, nationalities, civics, history, laws, so on and so forth, and getting to the truth. How many have been misled by facts, data, and statistics, but still overlook the truth? This is why I bring up very specific things as examples, right? And I know some of y'all don't like it when I bring this shit up, right? I'm gonna use the same examples. And this doesn't make me popular at all. It doesn't make me likable. But the 3 people out there who do appreciate it, thank you very much, for enduring. 3 people out of 200 and I don't know, 40 people or something like that. Yeah, that's okay. I'm doing great. It's what I expect with the truth. We're coming out of the illusions and we're getting to the truth. The illusions of who represents ideals that we hold in our society. Narratives that we've held over in our society. Who really represents these things and who really characterizes these things? What's the difference between an indigenous person and a Native American? Civics, status, estate. Civics, status, estate. This goes back to Aries identity. Neptune will transit. Okay? What is the status of those who claim authority and power as elected officials in our nations? What's the truth of it? Is it an illusion of power? Do we need to know this prior to Saturn's transit of Aries, where Palantir and other instruments of power will restrict the identities in illusions of power and authority? What other choice do you have except the truth that gets you to the claim of your consent, by which consent is the only means by which you can be subjugated to such limitations of your own power and freedom? Do you see where I'm getting at? And I try to use myself as the example so that you can understand, to relate, that you must do the same thing. I'm not who you are, I am who I am. So I use the reality of being called a Negro, black, colored, African American, which is an illusion of who I am. It is a false status. It is a fictitious status. The narratives and registry of facts and statistics and data has been manipulated so that I do not know these things, so that I can be subject to a status of non-descent. Why? Because non-descent status, it denies me of my forefathers' inheritance, legacy, and status and jurisdiction based on my identity as an indigenous person, especially of the Cherokee tribal nation as a Moor. The first motherfuckers to be on this American territory. While the native, not indigenous, the native, which is the Asian who migrated over here after the indigenous, is represented by Asians. And the Asians make room for whites, but they don't make room for indigenous. And there's a reason for this illusion. The same thing happens to all of you. So I can only use me to help you to get the fact that you must discover the same things. Because the 4th house is your ancestral origin. Aries is your identity that is consistent with your ancestral origin. But you don't want to be disturbed. You don't want to be bothered. You got better things to do. You don't want to hear it. Wait till Saturn transits Aries. You gonna wish the fuck you would've listened. You're not getting it. You think you got time, you think it don't apply to you. but it does. It took me 28 years to figure out who the fuck I am. You got Democrats, Republicans, the left and the right, liberals and conservatives. The illusion is that they're on separate teams. The illusion is that one is against the other. The truth is that they all are playing good cop, bad cop on you. Look at Mamdani of New York City, the new mayor who just got elected. Trump tweets his little comment, oh, anybody who supports him, you know, you hate Jews and all this other stuff, right? But the truth is that 40% of the greatest population of Jews in America, which is Brooklyn, New York, voted for Mamdani. Muslims and Jews have always had a peaceful coexistence with each other, even since the Spanish Inquisition, which exiled Jews and Muslims together out of the Iberian Peninsula. But getting to the truth of it, Mamdani and Trump are not on separate teams. Trump and Biden are not on separate teams. They all are under the same marching orders of the Khazarians, who manage all of this from the Vatican Pope. They play these roles like a cheap Hollywood film for people who are too slow to catch on. Because it has you to use your own consent to subjugate yourself to these illusions and participate in them, staying in a cloud of confusion with yourselves. And there's no karma because you use your consent. They do it dead in front of your face. And the karma can't manifest to them because they already put you on notice. You use your consent against yourself. Them against us. They're not separate teams. Mamdani is opening the floodgates for illegal status immigrants to flood New York, which is a deliberate destruction of New York City. It's going to collapse, and when it collapses, that is an automatic confiscation of the commercial properties in the state of New York by the Khazarians, to where there's no longer privatization. There's no longer diversity. New York itself will be owned by the same small percentage of small hats that's running everything else. And illegal immigrants are nothing but slaves, docile workers, working out of fear, pitch pennies, in order to turn over more production with less costs and liabilities. That's what can be expected. There's no separate teams in any of this. I'm jogging around. Still This is a review. You know what I mean? For this Mercury retrograde, this is a review. You know what I'm saying? Or are we on point, or are we asleep? Are we paying attention? You know what I mean? Fourth house, you're supposed to be understanding what has to be restored there that was lost through our indulgence. And dark Capricorn number 8, devil card energy, as Pluto was transiting through Capricorn. All right, that's what we get into. That's what we get into. We have to restore it. It's like the fourth house Cancer is, we offended the fourth house Cancer. We disrespected the great matriarchal mother of spirit. Fourth house Cancer. We betrayed the source from whence we come, the womb that we must reverence, that bore us. Cancer, fourth house. And we're learning to regenerate that reverence and respect again for the fourth house in Cancer. That's what we're learning. So, Pholus is slowly moving itself through Capricorn, shaking that tree. It's shaking and destabilizing our connections to that escape route in ourself. Get to the bag, ambition, status, accolades, degrees, money, job titles, brand names, wealth, competition, comparison of yourself to others, ruthlessness, deteriorating your health, destroying your families, subjugating your children to a miserable and painful reality. Why? Because of lust for money, greed for money, lust for status, greed for status. Insecurities about not having a perfect looking life, for not having things that proves and shows that you are so ambitious and you are so powerful and you are so great. The Ibex mentality, the Machiavellian nature of ourselves. We are learning to atone for that. We are learning to give ourselves forgiveness for that. We are learning to heal that. We are learning to bow out of that race. We are learning to detach the identity from that state of consciousness so that we can get back to the matriarchal truth of ourselves, which is a foundation of who we really are. Matriarchal. Every tribe, every indigenous tribe, and every native tribe of this earth, before white Christian national settlers came to shake it all up, was matriarchal, not patriarchal. It has always been matriarchal. That is the consistency for this whole entire planet, is that every indigenous tribe has always been matriarchal. This is one of the reasons as well why they don't want anybody to find clarity around Muslims and Islam. I'm not here to promote for Islam. I'm here to challenge status quo. I'm here to challenge false narratives. I'm here to challenge brainwashing. I'm here to challenge social engineering and manipulation of perception. The Sharia law of Islam, it is matriarchal. It is not patriarchal. It is matriarchal through and through. All of its basis goes back to morality, the good prevailing over the bad, equality, justice, freedom, compassion, advocacy for the weak, disenfranchised or disadvantaged. I could go on and on. The Sharia law is a perfect reflection of Cancer principles, of Cancer ideals and expressions. If people start to catch on to that, if people start to realize that, if Islam continues to spread as it does, this awareness will become too common for people to see that there is another option other than the patriarchal ideals that we have been raised in. And there is an immunity. There's a choice. There's power of consent against what's being proposed to us, suggested to us, or insisted upon us through cloaks of illusion. I give one example. Sharia law. Usury is forbidden in Sharia law. That is to take out loans with interest. That is to add interest to what you loan or what you borrow. Who's the hidden hand behind our monarchs and oligarchs who are posing as government officials? You know it's Khazarians. They're the ones who fear Islam. They're the ones who fear Sharia law because it works against their banking interests. It works against their business strategies. The awareness of Sharia law alone makes a person immune to Khazarians' business policies, practices, and lack of ethics. The exploitation factor in it, the abuse factor in it, and the cultural norms that continues to feed off of the vulnerabilities of families, the vulnerability of women and children, the sexual exploitation of women, immorality, distrust in the society. Sharia law works against all of these things. These are the dark energies that generates money and control, that maintains political leverage and advantage over the people through their own consent. Sharia law makes you immune to that. So they are desperate to make you afraid of Islam. They're desperate to make you scared of Muslims. They are desperate to get you to find disgust in Muslims and Islam. You ain't never once stopped to think, why do these niggas want me to fear Muslims so fucking bad? Why do they want me to be so scared of Sharia law and Islam? I'm not saying that Sharia law should rule the nation. I'm not saying that it should be our way. But what I am saying, that I am aware of because I was raised in it, that it clarifies that we have options to the oppression that Khazarian cultures and policies want to subject the people to. And it's your consent that means the difference. In Sharia law clarifies that it really is your consent, that you really do have a choice and option on whether or not you're subjugated to such norms. And again, that is the point of consent when it comes to Aries Saturn transit that constricts because you don't know your consent. Come on, I'm trying to help you all out. I'm trying to help you all out, man. It's like, it's like I'll be better off, you know what I'm saying, teaching some, I don't know, pretty big titty, you know what I'm saying, female or something, and then let her get on camera and talk to y'all niggas, you know what I'm saying, so you could accept, so that you can understand what I'm saying. Because it's coming from a masculine spirit, such as myself. It's like y'all get scared and clenched up, you know what I'm saying? Your mind closes and you can't fucking hear, you know what I'm saying? You get scared instead of seeing that this is love manifest, man. But you scared of love. You know what I mean? What I gotta do? Find a big titty pretty bitch
You know what I'm saying? Teach her and tell her to come up here and explain it to y'all niggas so you can feel comfortable hearing it and listening to it. So you can put your guard down and stop clutching your pearls. You know what I'm saying? Every time I say something. Is that what it takes? Because I know that a lot of people is conditioned like that. You can't hear nothing unless a pretty big titty bitch is up here talking to you, rocking, you know what I'm saying, making you feel good as you listen to it. It's the only way. I'm trying to show you these illusions here. Facts, data, statistics cannot get you to the truth. It's part of verifying and confirming truth, but it's not equal to the truth. Facts, data, statistics, it can be manipulated to emphasize narratives. According to what we would call facts, data, statistics, you know what I mean? I would be called Negro, Black, Colored, African American. But that's not the truth. That may be an actual fact, but it's not true. Jesse Jackson in 1988? Coined us as African Americans. He was a 5013C, Skull and Bones contractor, a Cherokee himself, indigenous, who through the Skull and Bones Secret Society was put up there to name and title us African Americans, which is a contradiction to title someone under two continental names. Negro, Black, Colored, that came from the Christian black codes. Yes, Christian, not Muslim, Christian black codes. How many of y'all out there bothered to even investigate and understand what that was? Why was it necessary to do that? To place indigenous people who were already here, not shipped from Africa, who were already here, in a non-descendable status, so that they do not have access to their estate or what their forefathers have given them. That goes back to the fourth house once again. That also goes back to Aries' identity. And Neptune is dissolving illusions around the identity. Truth is here. Neptune in Pisces is dissolving misconceptualizations, misconceptions, misperceptions. It's dissolving it. DEI was coined and put on black women. No, DEI benefited white women more than anybody. Food stamps, EBT, SNAP benefit was put on the image of black women. No, white women represents food stamps, SNAP benefits, and EBT among Americans more than anybody. These are illusions. Are we getting to the truth? Because you would have called it a fact if nobody showed it to you. These are illusions. What's wrong with our society? Oh, 13% of the population, as Charlie Kirk would say, is responsible for what is that? 80% of the crime, or you know, whatever percentage that was. African Americans being so violent. We're murderers. We're killers. We're dangerous. Everybody hide. You know, hide and run from the black man. Be scared of the black man. Same way they fearmonger about Muslims, they fearmonger about black men since the beginning of this fictitious nation. Why have they always needed you to be scared of us? Ask yourself that. Ask yourself why they need you to be scared of us so bad. But you tell me who you would rather. You tell me who you would have even a fraction of respect for, a child pedophile or a murderer. You tell me. Call me a murderer all day. Call me a killer all day. I'll take that reputation. It's better than his reputation, the white Christian male. of being the number one pedophile, the number one child predator in America. Look at his statistics and data for kiddie porn and child predator behaviors. They don't bring that up. These things are illusions. What deserves a greater protest? The illusion that black men around here just killing everybody? Or the truth that he's a number one pedophile? And maybe he shouldn't be trusted around kids? Are we going to talk about that? No, because it's not convenient. And it's not the narrative that you're used to. And it doesn't make you feel good, and it doesn't make you look good to bring it up. But the black male is the ultimate scapegoat of this society. He's the scapegoat. Black people are the scapegoat. Throw it all on them. Wash your hands and walk away. Hide behind their blame. Hide behind it. There's no more hiding spaces in this time because we're dealing with the truth now. Understand that. We're dealing with the truth. Y'all see how it go on this channel? It's very few people, you know what I mean, who got the guts to even, make visibility on this channel. People be listening, but they get angry inside. People be listening, but they full of resent, hatred. And the moment they think that you fell on your back, they're going to rush out of the woods to open up your chest cavity and finish you off. I seen it. There's plenty of you secret hating ass motherfuckers out there. Instead of unsubscribing and going on about your business, you're attached to me because you hate me so much. You're attached to me. And you got to listen to everything I say to reinforce your own hatred. And you can't wait till it seems like I fall on my back or I get exposed so you could come out of nowhere running your fucking mouth. But any other time you ain't got shit to say. But the moment you think you got something on me, here you come running out the fucking woods. Like, goddamn, I didn't even know you was here. I know how this go. I'm a Leo rising. That's the story of my life. I walk through the spirit of envy every day as a Leo rising. We attract envy because we walk with light. Light that is authentic. Light that is real. So there's always going to be envy for us. There's always going to be hatred for us. That's unwarranted because we represent the light of truth. And that's not my problem. That's your motherfucking problem. I'm a brave heart and I know how to align with truth. I could deal with it. Because you struggle to deal with it, you want to make me the fucking problem. No, you the fucking problem. How real are you? Are you really real? As I said before, fourth house. What is it about your demographic? What is it about your race? What is it about your community? What is it about your family that buys into false narratives, lies, oppression, injustice, abuse, disharmony, separation, ignorance? What is it? What do you need to come clean about that's in your forefather's house? That's in your foremother's house? What do you need to come clean about concerning your fourth house from whence you came? The Cancer Mars retrograde, it dealt with that in a local level between you and individuals. And you found that all of these problems that you had righteous anger about, it was between you and your mother. It was between you and your granny. It was between you and your father. And you had to go back and heal it so that you can see through the illusions that you were projecting on the other people to blame for your own pain and discontent and insecurities. Collectively, it's the same way. Why are so many white people in America so scared of Muslims, so scared of black people, so scared of people who don't look like them? And to feel secure, you jump into a pool of righteous anger, hiding behind Christianity of all things, which is the ultimate contradiction of righteousness, pointing a finger, Jesus Christ, Christ is Lord, and all this other bullshit, when you are what you accuse everyone else of being in your resume from your forefathers' house. There is nothing that you can accuse any people of being that your forefathers were not the masters of personifying in murder, genocide, abuse, theft, doctrine of discovery, manifest destiny, sowing discord and confusion and separation, domination, rape, tyranny. Who did more damage to the earth, to nature itself? Animals going extinct because of how much they're hunted. Ain't nobody else out there hunting but white folks to that point of extinction. Nobody else had the idea to pollute nature at such a devastating, catastrophic level and measure other than white people. Nobody's religion did more abuse and spread of fear, terror, terrorism, and pain than Christianity, expressed by white people. But conveniently, some white people feel like you don't have to get involved. You don't have to lift your voice, because the infrastructure of society was meant to protect, preserve, and honor you and not others. So from your convenience, you don't want to be disturbed. You don't want your peace disturbed. You don't want to get in it. You ain't got nothing to say. And many think that that's going to be an escape, but all you're doing is calling karma to come and educate you, since you don't want to step out and educate yourself through that process of getting busy with it. This is not a sweeping indictment to all white people, because I am acknowledging that all white people are not like this. I'm making that acknowledgement and declaration right now. That is facts. But don't pretend like you don't see what's happening in America. America has returned to its Jim Crow days. America has made a full turnaround to its Christian black codes all over again. It's Christian tyranny and abuse. America has bought back into the Spanish Inquisition all over again, in which they campaign against Muslims. All over again. History repeating itself. And why does history repeat itself? Because people refuse to know history. It's inevitable that it must repeat. But you're not on the receiving end of that. You're protected from all of that, so you ain't got nothing to say. It's not your fight. Personal level, Sagittarius, getting to the truth. Making sure that what you put fire and passion behind, that is true and correct. So, some conversations from the past, opportunities missed from the past, that could mean a difference between you claiming a free status for yourself in life, claiming free expression for yourself in life. You may have the chance to untie that knot through the Sagittarius retrograde. Set yourself free. Remember, it's a reconnaissance. And that's knowing what you have to go back into into Scorpio to do in order to claim what you find in Sagittarius. You see what I'm saying? So Mercury retrograde started from Sagittarius. It's about finding through reconnaissance what would mean the difference between you being free or not. And when you find what that is, you have to go back into Scorpio to claim it. Because Scorpio is what gets you to the truth that makes the claim towards freedom. And that requires courage, resilience, boldness, acceptance, transformation, humility, even humiliation. Because it taps into your power sources. It taps into how you relate to your personal power and what makes you feel powerless or not, what makes you feel vulnerable. Are we enjoying power? Are we hiding behind powers that are inappropriate just because it's a convenient thing? So let me do the due diligence right now, you know what I'm saying, to encourage also. We know that, with the SNAP benefits thing, food stamps, all that other stuff, families are really in a crisis, a bind right now, okay, with resources. We just had the full moon Taurus, and this highlights a state of emergency, okay, for the people collectively concerning finances and resources, comfortability, and the things that we value. There's a state of emergency around all this. And that state of emergency is the emotional intensity that says, with all that's going on, I'm willing to surrender and let go of my endless appetite and desire for ambitious outcomes. I'm willing to let go of that. And I just want to get to where I can be grounded. I want to get to what's timeless, what's meaningful to my soul, what's everlasting, what endures, what does not fade away. And we can only get to that through Taurus. And because it's Taurus full moon, it has to do with what we nurture towards that status. How that status relates to our sense of humanity. How that status also correlates to our place and position and role in our community or tribes. We are rebuilding tribes again. That's what we're doing here. Decentralization of government, it leads right back to tribalism. We are forming tribes again, and you have to nurture the tribes back into a matriarchal status, a matriarchal authority, a matriarchal centralization of itself in nucleus. And what that is, the needs, the vulnerabilities, and sensitivities of women and children is what determines what our culture, our policy, our patriarchal infrastructure is going to be. What are the needs of the women and children within our clans, within our tribes? That's what determines that. What transfers as, what reads as security for the women and children of our tribes, of our community, of our nation, of our state, that of our demographic. That is what gets to the matriarchal form that we're innovating as our new conceptualized infrastructure and constitution. That's already conveniently spelled out in a way that cannot even be perfected anymore in Sharia law of Islam. I'm not telling you to go to Sharia law. Do what you want to do. Make up your own. Come up with your own from your own heart. I am 100% okay with that. But if you don't want to exhaust yourself in doing that, I'm telling you right now, Sharia law already has it spelled out. If you study and understand Sharia law, you will have matriarchal order that's already clarified for you. And you can innovate it as you need. But you're going to need it because we are forming tribes. Okay? The people who you survive with, that's your tribe. That's your tribe. And you want to expand your tribe. Collaborate, unify, get stronger, joining tribes. But just know that right now the call is to form your tribe. The call is also to realize where our tribe should not harbor fourth house curses, evils, dark magic, or oppression. And that usually comes through the legacy that we inherited from our forefathers of practices, ideologies, dogmas that transfers oppression into the society. We have to clean that up. We have to clean that out. We got to get rid of that, because that frequency is not going to be tolerated. So let's open our minds. Let's see strangers as someone who's entrusted to us. Don't repulse the beggar, as it says in the Holy Quran. You know, the one who doesn't have a husband, the one who doesn't have father, the one who doesn't have people of strength in their household, people of strength in their community, people of strength in their network. We have to open up compassion and see that if we have more strength, if we have more resources, if we have more information, awareness, wisdom, skill, experience, whatever it is, it does not belong to us. It belongs to the Most High, and we must serve with that. We must serve. We have to lead with compassion and sensitivity. We've got to care more for the stranger. We have to care more for other people. If there's a meal enough for you, it's a meal enough for 2 or 3. Whatever's enough for you to eat is enough for 2 or 3 to eat or more. Break bread. Split your plate. Divide your food. Make sure that when you have or when you use resources, that you remember those who do not have the power to have resources at that season of their life or that time of their life. Somebody may be entrusted to us for a season, and we got to show up. And don't expose what you do. Don't tell what you do. Keep the secret of your brother. Keep the secret of your sister. Don't expose your brother or your sister's secret. Don't look down on them either. Never, you know what I'm saying? Never put weight on somebody's dignity. There are many people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, He says, you will know al-miskin. What is miskin? Miskin is the one who is sincere but unfortunate. They are sincere. And he said, you will know them by this trait. They do not beg. That's one of the traits of al-miskin, the sincere. They don't beg because they still have dignity. But if you see the signs that somebody might not have, somebody might be lacking, but they don't want to lose their dignity, or they don't want to be put to shame because they're asking, or they don't want to burden you. They don't want to inconvenience you, so they suffer. Find a way through wisdom to deliver without, increasing the feeling of insult. Reassure them and comfort them to let them know, ain't no shame, ain't no shame in what you're going through. Lift your head up. You know what I'm saying? Hold your head. This is just a season that you're passing through. I understand. I've been there before. And one day I'm going to be this person too. I'm going to need somebody, to help me out. But we gotta sometimes go out of our way to show up for people, because that's what love does. That's Cancer. Cancer doesn't read what's said, it reads what's felt. Cancer is clairvoyant in how it finds where to meet a person. That's Cancer energy. Cancer Jupiter is expanding. And with that expanding, what we're expanding is our clairvoyance to detect emotional security, biological instability and insecurity, food scarcity and insecurity. Okay? We're detecting, we're picking up on that. You're watching for the signs, you're listening for, where does this person need help, but they're just not saying that they need help there. And sometimes it can show its face in aggression. Somebody could come off aggressive or, like they got an attitude, but really they're suffering. And they're too ashamed of their suffering, so they put on that mask. But when we know and understand that, we don't hold it against them. We forgive them, and we still find ways to show, to deliver without them feeling like, somebody's just giving them something. You know what I mean? Like a person with dignity might say, hey, listen, man, I don't know, you might know a guy who knows how to change spark plugs, right? But you see that, he's just, he's fucked up in life right now. He's sincere, you know that if he had a chance, he would be working or whatever else. So you might say to him, man, I could give him a couple $100, you know what I'm saying? But I want to respect his dignity. So instead of me, making him feel, like he's losing his dignity, I'm gonna pitch it to him like this, like, yo, so-and-so, yo, check this out, man. I really need a tune-up. I don't have the time because of work. I got all these different things going on. But, if you have the time, do you think that you would be interested in, in doing a tune-up on my truck? You know what I'm saying? If I give you, I don't know, $300 or $400, you know what I mean? You think you could do that? And like, yeah, I could do that. Yo, thank you, man. I really appreciate you. I'm really glad, that you don't mind to do it, because, otherwise I might have to spend so much at a car mechanic shop, you know how it is. Yeah, I just, so yeah, thanks a lot. So when would you like, that's a way of showing up for somebody without putting them to shame or exposing them. We really got to think about stuff like this, man. You know what I'm saying? People going through things right now, and we can't be fucking selfish. You know what I'm saying? We gotta work and function like a tribe. We do. We've got to do it. Your tribe includes, whoever you on the same frequency with, that's your tribe. Whoever you're in the 8th house with, that's your tribe. That's your tribe. Your extended tribe is who you're in the 7th house with. All right? Who you trade with on behalf of your tribe, that might be the 5th house. And trade is just not, material things, information, resources, whatever that you could transfer into value, of what the clan needs. But, all of these things go under full moon Taurus. Okay, we're getting to the value of the inner child, what the inner child values, okay? Because full moon, and that lunar energy goes back to the inner child, okay? And also the matriarchal needs, the emotional needs as well, domestic needs. And concerning Taurus, this is getting at the everlasting things, the things that really matter, the things that do not lose its value over time. And that is, okay, what do we value that's everlasting? You know what I'm saying? Our relationships, our connections, the integrity that we have between each other, the trust that we restore, friendships, goodwill, good intentions, sharing of information, ideas, and resources. You know what I'm saying? All of these things that leads to greater stability, figuring out the crisis that we share. One person might be stranded. One person might be hit with an eviction notice. One person's, car might have got repossessed last night. You know what I'm saying? So this is not a time where we judge and criticize each other because there's nothing to judge. Because the truth is that the weight of economy, the weight of expenses, finances, debts, losses, that is something inevitable that's pressing on all of us as part of what we must pass through to get to the next phase of our evolution, as we are, losing density to get more into the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So, around you, all type of crisis is going to be taking place, and we have to cover each other's faults. We have to, encourage each other not to feel shame and hold our heads down, to feel, to still feel our dignity. And we got to come up with solutions. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so-and-so lost their vehicle last night. Hey, you know what? Let's huddle together. Let's get in a group chat and figure out, okay, who's going this direction at that? Okay, let's carpool. So-and-so lost their house. They can't keep it together. They was part of that wave of layoffs from Amazon, UPS, IT jobs, and, tech jobs and government. A lot of people getting laid off, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, listen, instead of you being out there by yourself, why don't you move in with us? Hey, instead of you being out there, so-and-so, I'll talk to so-and-so. Maybe we can figure out an arrangement and, we all help each other. We're forming tribes, okay? So the natural disaster is forcing the evolution and innovation of tribal status within all of us. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. And we polying, we coming together and we polying and finding solutions to reinforce each other and stabilize each other. Taurus energy is about being present. You're bowing out of the Scorpio ambitious, I desire, which never ends. Prophet Muhammad said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, nothing satisfies the desire of the sons and daughters of Adam except the dirt of the grave. You know what I'm saying? So we will infinitely be desiring. But Taurus grounds us in the present, where there is to be appreciation and gratitude, where we are to recognize, count, and measure, and appreciate, cherish, and celebrate the abundance that's already with us, the wealth that's already with us, the plenty that's already with us. We're giving recognition to that, and we finding contentment in those things. We are using what we do have. We are noticing what we do have so that we can innovate from that point. Innovation does not take place in what might be. Innovation doesn't take place in what used to be. Innovation takes place only in the present moment, where you are with what you have. Where you are and what you have is Taurus. That's Taurus. So Taurus is the basis of innovation, because innovation starts with what you already have, where you already are, who you already are, and what status you already have obtained. That's where innovation begins. So according to what I already have, where I already am, where we already are, what we already have, how can we improve upon, make more efficient, or make it make sense as we all participate in a better outcome that works for everyone. You see what I'm saying? So the Taurus full moon is where we're going to start seeing that innovation, is where our power can be sensed again. That innovation is where we can regain a sense of empowerment through innovation. We innovate, and that is the expression of power now, is through innovation. Aquarius energy is poly. Okay? It is poly. It is coming together. It is working together. It is thinking together. It is planning together. Strategizing. Everything is together. You know what I'm saying? Check this out, man. We got to be willing to get out of our comfort zones too. Let's say, okay, there's a household. Think of all your connections as different households. You're not limited to just the household that you have. Okay, we can open our minds to understand it, that we can all network, collaborate, unify, okay, and sharing of ideas and resources, okay, to innovate. We have that ability, we have that reach, but it takes for us to be vulnerable enough, to entertain the thought. You know what I'm saying? You Okay, you might have, for example, say you have a long time friend, up in New York, and you're in the South somewhere, or you got a long time friend, in Chicago, when you're in Florida, whatever. Those long-term time friends are now, you now have to consider them. Okay, that's my tribe. I'm their tribe, they're my tribe. We are a tribal nation. You have to consider yourself a tribal nation of yourselves. Okay? So whoever you have lasting connections and synchronicity, however you say that. Whoever you have synchronicity with, okay, that's part of your tribal nation. Okay? Your tribe and tribal nation, right? The tribe is okay, that's your third house radius. Your tribal nation, that's your ninth house radius of connections. You see what I'm saying? Bring that in, solidify it, and clarify everything. What else? Trying to go over everything. I don't get to talk to you often. So I'm trying to go over everything. So let's see. Uranus going back into Taurus. There's going to be major changes to the financial sector. Okay, y'all know we dealing with paper fiat money. Okay, fiat, and it very well could go digital during or right after the retrograde of Uranus and Taurus. Okay, these changes very well could happen. Also, you got to think, since 2018, what used to be your ideal of stability. This is where you finally let go of pursuing that ideal of stability since 2018. The ideal of stability now is your tribe. Okay? And within the tribe, every person standing in utilization of their gifts, their talent, their wisdom, their experience, and becoming the service that we all need. Okay? In that is monetization. In that is financing. In that is provision. Okay? Because, obviously it's a trade system. I do this for you and you do this for me. Barter and trade. So we're finally accepting that value takes a different context now. And value is no longer based upon Capricorn. It is now based upon Aquarius. Understand that. Intellectual property is now the value. Wisdom is now the value. Experience is now the value. Your ability to network and connect positively with others is the value. And that becomes a valuable person who has power to connect with people, who has power to incorporate ideas, gifts, strategies, and experience as a benefit to their tribe. You know what I mean? So, anyway, let's see. Now, full moon Taurus, okay? Taurus is about cultivation. There's nothing quick, fast, or sudden about Taurus. It's very grounded, very realistic and sincere. It's not impressed with numbers or quantities. It's always about quantity. And Taurus is about our ability to recognize where value is really at. Let's not lose the sight that the value of Taurus, it considers in light of the identity. That's most important. The value of Taurus is in light of identity, the first house. What's valuable to you? What's valuable to who you are? What is enduring and everlasting in your life that sustains and grounds who you are? This is concerning people and things. What are unquestionable matters in your life that you take value in or should take value in? That clarifies your identity again and again. What is it that pours into your sense of self-esteem, dignity, self-respect? What is it? Your second house clarifies all of these things. Your second house is also where your boundaries must always be. And those boundaries is to make sure that you do not compromise or fail to uphold what makes you, first house, valuable, second house. What makes you valuable? If you do not have the manifestations, ideals, practices, or even possessions of the second house, you don't feel valuable. So, because it's a full moon, if you put it in context of the moon, what are the emotional and domestic needs that you should value? What are the domestic needs that you should value? Second house also deals with food, your diet. Your proper diet is clarified in the second house. It tells you how you should eat, what you should and should not eat, how often you should eat. It tells everything. The second house. This food stamp crisis is a blessing in disguise for many people. It's saving many people from obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, eating itself into very poor health conditions. It's really a saving grace for a lot of people. Less is more when it comes to Taurus. And that's very true when it comes to diet, when it comes to how we should be eating. Less is always more when it comes to proper eating. Just like eating 3 times a day, there couldn't be a bigger lie ever told. Nobody needs to eat 3 fucking times a day. That shit is fucking absurd. Only person should eat 3 times a day is a hard-working, blue-collar construction man, a martial artist, you know what I'm saying, or something like that, MMA fighter, boxer, rest and recovery, extreme levels of nutrition. We got to re-educate ourselves here. Americans, let's keep it honest. Americans got to get lighter. Who's more obese than us, than our nation? Our women are twice the weight as the men. Big burly back. Ain't seen a collarbone since they was in high school. You know what I mean? So there's favor in a lot of these things because these are adjustments that really needed to be made. All of the events that's taken place since Trump got in office is saving grace, is deliverance. And deliverance, it comes because our willpower wasn't enough to do what's in our best interests. Our willpower wasn't enough to make the decisions to emphasize our second house needs because of addiction, escapism, distractions, miseducation, false indoctrination. There's many reasons. Food is used like a drug to pacify, to comfort, to escape realities, for dopamine effect. It's just like sex. Food and sex are harmonious in Taurus. Used as a means of comfort. But we learn lessons through Pisces Saturn that we have to find the willpower to come out of these addictive habits and tendencies with ourselves of escapism and coping. That we shouldn't undo ourselves and abuse ourselves with the escapism and coping, which includes drugs, sex, food. Abusing ourselves with these things. The basis of that is chemical, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all of the enes. Since Trump got in office, policy after policy has pointed directly at what has been enabling the destruction, division, and curse of the fourth house. And all of these things are really setting us free. We're being set free. It's better to know that, the way the government is treating Americans, it's doing us a favor in the long run. Because if we really take note and learn from this, we will know not to put our trust in them again. Not to believe in any candidate. Believe in ourselves. Invest in ourselves. Empower ourselves. Work together. And stay in the light of truth. The biggest favor an abuser can do is isolate you until you can figure out that you are your own hero and you are your own hope. It's just like an abusive relationship. We're being disillusioned. And it's doing us a favor. Come on, let's all admit. Donald Trump's pen has a direct correlation with undoing all of what has enabled feminism to dismantle, separate, destroy the family unit and our reverence for the fourth house. And that transcends all aspects of the fourth house, which is how we respect and nurture ourselves, our children, family legacies, man, woman, child, the status of families in America, the vulnerabilities of children and women. It's all bringing us back to remember what we did to honor women and children as a collective. And what women did to honor themselves. It's bringing us back to recall all of these things, to remember all of these things. It's refreshing our memory. The welfare state with Roosevelt and Lyndon B. Johnson, that was the beginning of America's family's demise. It started right there. And when it started for white families. But then when Lyndon B. Johnson handed it over to the black families, it was used in a different way to divide the black family, to separate the black family. to weaken the black male, because the black male was always the threat to the inappropriate power of white Christian nationalism. Not the black woman, the black male. He's the only one who can fight that shit and win. The black American male is the only one who can fight white Christian nationalism and actually win. And that's why they had to divide his family and weaken him, disenfranchise him, put his own woman against him. He's the only one who can fight that motherfucker and win. That's facts. And they can't have that shit again. He's the only one with the balls to stand up to that shit like it need to be without fucking flinching. Give his whole life for it. Don't act like y'all don't know what happened when a black man get his mind on, when he get his fucking head screwed on straight. Proper knowledge and character. He a force to be reckoned with. You can't fuck with that shit. That shit scared the fuck out of white Christian nationals. A black man with his head screwed on straight, knowledge of self, good character, determination, and full of faith and love. Yeah. That's their greatest nightmare. There's nothing that they're afraid of more than that. And then you put the combination of Islam with that. Yeah. That's a terror in America to white Christian nationalism. There's nothing they fear more. That's facts, nigga. There's nothing they fear more. That's why it's love when we're indulged in sin, gambling, promiscuity, drug selling, and violence, and gangs, and all this stuff. You know, they love when we off in that because we distracted. There's no power in it because there's no love behind it. It's a loveless frequency. And when you come from lovelessness, when you come without love, you're weak. You're not powerful. You're ineffective. But when you come from truth and love, there's nothing that can stop you. And when you come from truth and love, death is something to laugh at, not fear. Understand that.
Mercury retrograde, Sagittarius. Mars, first of all, is in opposition to Uranus. Know that. That is, current patterns are in opposition to revelation. What happens when revelation is in opposition to the current patterns that you're used to, right? Uranus is showing where there's innovative opportunity if you're willing to change the patterns that you're used to, the behaviors that you're used to. If you're willing to step outside that comfort zone. And Mars is really in position to take upon that advice through Sagittarius. Because in Sagittarius, Mars wants to take chances, wants to take risk. Because of the opposition, it's specifying that these chances and risk should be toward what sets you free, what liberates you, what keeps you original and authentic as you take these chances, or to maintain intentions that are consistent with what's most authentic to you. From Taurus, it's in consideration of what you value the most. It's in consideration of what stabilizes and grounds you in what is everlasting of that which is to be valued. Everlasting. And that consistent with the second house. So according to the second house, that upholds the expression and being of the first house, that solidifies and materializes the understanding of the first house. What makes us feel like we are action being in solid flesh, in biochemical mass, the reality around us physically that we choose and select to characterize who we are. Taurus. Uranus is showing us that our innovative ideals, the perspectives that we hold, and what we are willing to take risk and chance on ought to be consistent with that everlasting ideal that supports what gives us a sense of value, self-esteem, fulfillment, meaning, and all of that can be found in the second house, that which you cherish. What is the characteristic of your second house? What does it suggest to you? What do you value the most? What upholds your self-esteem? In what ways do you need to feel support so that your self-esteem can flourish? As Mars is having this communication and considering changing its cadence, changing its algorithm, changing its behavior, changing its ways in order to get us to the authenticity through our freedom. Getting us to the authenticity and the expression of our passion, that which we are passionate about. Are we passionate within limitations of what we're used to? Or could we put passion behind what is now possible? Understand, Mercury in retrograde first communicates with Mars, who's in this meeting, with Mars who's having these considerations, having these reflections. As Mercury transits backwards, meeting up with Mars. It's a review, a change of perspective, data, information, conversations, phone call, email, whatever it takes to inform Mars so that based on information, based on feedback, based on reflections, I have a way to respond to Uranus suggesting that it's time for a change in direction of what you value the most, of what's most important to you. Thus, making the passion of Sagittarius, the expression of freedom through Sagittarius, the pursuit of truth through Sagittarius, that much more true, that more filled with fire. Understand, as Mercury gets past Mars, enters back into Scorpio, there's contact with Black Moon Lilith. And Black Moon Lilith has a lot to part with Mercury, and Mercury has a lot to part with Black Moon Lilith. And this too, within the orb of opposition to Uranus. All of these meetings that Mercury is having as it backtracks remains under the influence, the ice grill gaze and stare of Uranus from across the room, looking at Mercury, looking at Mars, looking at Black Moon Lilith, and soon looking at the sun saying, yo, be yourself, be real, be authentic. Stop following the crowd. Spin the direction that you want to spin. Tilt the way you want to tilt. March to your own beat, your own rhythm. Be you. Make the smoke, make the noise. Spill the milk. You know what I mean? Black Moon Lilith, in conversation with a retrograde Mars, retrograde Mercury. This is a revisiting of where shame has something in it that we have to brave. And what is that shame? The shame of admitting who you really are, what you're really about, what you really want, what you really prefer, what you really want your life to look like. Shame. Who better to set you free from shame than Uranus? Who better? And in that retrograde of Mercury, it brings in missed opportunities where specific conversations, persons, circumstances, opportunities could have been missed, where because of shame, we missed the bus, we missed the train, got left behind. Well, here's a chance now. Train comes back around, bus comes back around, conversation, phone call, email comes back around. Opportunities from the past come back around that are key to making this declaration. The claim of the true and proper status of the self, covered up in shame. What have you been ashamed about? What have you been hiding about yourself? What have you been hesitant, insecure to admit, express, bring out in the open? That, yo, this is who I am, this is me. This is what I'm about, this is what I want, this is how I want it. Also secrets. The secrets that keep us held back. Pressure inside. Stress, anger, resentment. All of these different things, we don't vocalize it, we don't bring it out, we don't nip it in the bud, we don't talk about it, we just swallow it, and then it becomes projections getting in the way. Projections. Oh, so-and-so false, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that, okay, but when you gonna speak up for you? You know what I mean? When you gonna lead with your authenticity? When you gonna be the real person that you're supposed to be? Understand that. How do we deal with shame? Shame and intimacy. It's a real thing. Many of us walk the earth afraid of intimacy, afraid of what we really want intimately, afraid to speak it, to vocalize it, to say it. I want to be loved. I want to be accepted. I want to be remembered. I want affection. I want somebody just to tell me, you know what I mean, that they care, that they were thinking about me. You know, every now and then, you know, I just want to know. I just want to know. Many of us are afraid to say something as simple as that. I'm not here to bully you about it, but I'm here to bring it up. To let you know that it's human, it's natural, it's how we're supposed to be. Yeah, you're supposed to want affection. You're supposed to want to be considered and remembered. You're supposed to want to be able to trust somebody with your secrets. Trust somebody with your vulnerabilities. You're supposed to. You're supposed to want to count on somebody. Believe that somebody's going to be there. They're going to do what they say they're going to do. Be who they say they are. Your word is your bond. Understand that. We all want that. Afraid of intimacy and afraid to come clean about the intimacy that you crave, that you need to survive. Yeah, how about that part? What do? We sabotage when we get insecure about such things. These themes can come back up. And Uranus is saying, point of innovation is to ground in what you value, ground in what makes you valuable, ground in what your values are, ground in it. And your second house is the perfect description of that. It is literally what you stand up on. The second house is what the first house stands on. Right? For example, the Leo ascendant. Leo stands on Virgo. Without Virgo, it cannot shine as Leo. Understand? Libra stands on Scorpio. Without Scorpio, it cannot manifest the expression and personality of Libra. That's what you stand on. What are you standing on? What are you supposed to stand on? What's your proper pillar? What's the tree, star, and banner that you're supposed to stand up under and claim and salute? Understand? That's your post. That's what you stand on. And we're recalling it. That's the route to freedom, liberation, is to stand on that second house. What's that second house all about? That's what makes you who you are at the first house. It's also what makes you who you are at Aries. Notice. Understand this.